Yes, I'm ready.
Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready
Good, because
to
we're on
fall
live.
in love. We're live?
Well,
To fall in love with you.
Aw. You talking to me or listeners?
Oh, we're live. Hi. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Land of Meek Believe. I am Mika. I will be your. Ooh, I just touched my mic. That get used to stuff like that. I will be here. What? Look at here.
No, I'm just saying, don't touch the microphone.
Don't touch my microphone. There's a finger in front of the camera.
Not
Hi.
that kind of show.
It's not that kind of show. It isn't. But the kind of show it is me touching my mic and making all kinds of faux pas. And then Ryan off camera, who is my helper in all things in life, will be giving me prompts, and I won't know what he's trying to prompt me about. And so I'll be going, "What did I do? What I do?" And he'll be trying to tell me things quietly, and I'll try to understand what he's saying. And then you'll see me not getting it,
It's
and
the world's
and
worst
then
charades
feeling
party.
super embarrassed for no reason at all. And you'll think he said something horribly mean to me, when in fact all he said was, "Look over there," or something similar. Hi, everybody. Hey Ryan.
Hey,
Guess what? So
chicken butt. Pew, pew, pew.
so we're doing willow orbs, and I made us a special cocktail, which I had been imbibing before you. I started imbibing before you came into the office to finish setting up. So I'll show you the mostly empty container already. It doesn't look very cool here, but inside there is a food grade mica, so it looks all swirly. It was supposed to look all swirly, but it has orange juice and lemon juice and whiskey. And the orange juice and whiskey sort of made a muddy color. But this is the new cocktail for tonight's show, and I've named it Willow the Whisk.
Oh, guys, it's got whiskey.
It's got willow. It's about willow, and it's whiskey. And so this is a Willow the Whisk, I had to look it up because a Willow the Wisp, which is the play on words we're going with here, is supposed to be a glowing orb that shows up in in fairy and fae mythology, which I love. So these are essentially will-o'-the-wisps, and I love that. And I don't know if that's what she used as her inspiration, but I have two things right here, one for you and one for me.
What you got for me? Is it $1?
It's glowing cocktail.
What?
These were some lights that I bought to see if they would work, and they don't for this purpose. So I'm repurposing them, and I'm finding all kinds of purposes for them. These are great cocktail coasters. I'm sorry. I just think they're awesome. If you had a dimly lit room, but anyway, because they sort of slowly spin, which is also nice. But all of the mica that I put in there doesn't show up at all. So it's supposed to be all swirly and magical, which we might feel. You might feel once you've been drinking this, because I feel swirly and magical.
Oh, baby.
I'll feel swirly, but no, in a good way. Hi, everybody. Welcome. I have had a wonderfully fun time this month. It has been a whole month. Every month this year has felt like a year. So, yeah, and this month was no exception. The second one was just the same as the first. Because I had so many failures, trials, and failures when I was trying to make these orbs. I finally came up with something that I'm actually happy with. I will have to show you these without the light, because this one's in the back. Let me get I bought lights that have, what is this called? A remote control? That cocktail. And I can change this, and the one behind me is set. So let's do, there we go, flame. We'll set it on flame. And then I need the second one for this guy. Na 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 na. Na na na. Oh yeah, we're turning off all the lights. We're getting romantic. Oh shiitake mushrooms. Okay. Oh, there is supposed to be another candle light under here. So we'll put this one on, which is not nearly bright enough, but it has a nice little red glow. And then we're gonna do on and flame. And so we have all of these beautiful, flamey, lovely things, which I adore.
I have to turn off the fan because it becomes.
It's making a
floating,
sound.
and I'm
Oh,
afraid that it's
turn
just
off the
gonna-
fan. The fan is on because I turned it on tonight because whenever we have cocktails, I have hormone flushes and I get hot flashes. So, but we can turn it off now. So these are the orbs. These, I decided I wanted to make these last month. And this has been trial by fire. This is not trial by fire. Let's not be dramatic. This has been trial by orb. We can turn the lights back on and I can talk about how I made them and what it is I like about these particular ones and what I did not like about the other ones. I'll just set that there and I will drink my drink. These ended up being a combination of two very simple things, which is coffee filters and glue and water. And I will show you I'll give you an idea of how I made them. I'm not going to show you the whole process because it takes time to dry, but I will be showing you how I made these tonight. And do you want to turn the light back on, or is this good light?
Yeah, it's good enough. It's romantical.
It's romantical. So here's what it looks like on the inside. I don't know if they can see really well from the other camera, but this is just, I ended up settling on 2 layers only. Well, this one is 3 layers, this one is 2 layers. And I realized that 2 layers wasn't enough of this product material to get structurally strong enough. But you could make it a little thicker. This one is 3. You can see maybe the difference in how illuminated it becomes. Let me see if I can figure this out here. So this one is 3 layers thick. And this one is 2 layers thick. And I think the 2 layer, this one's bigger also, but I think the 2 layers does give it a little more translucence. So the more layers you put on, the thicker the material is, the less light is going to get through. But what is beautiful about this material, coffee filters, being used as paper mache, is that it becomes translucent. It's kind of like the effect that you get by rubbing wax or oil onto paper. So, and it stays intact. So you cannot see through it, but you can see light through it. And it is a wonderful effect. I tried a few different glosses on the top. I'll show you what those glosses are in the after party. But just they're covered rather with a UV protection layer so that they can go outside and protect the colors from fading. So let's just get into it. I'll show you what it is that I did to make these. The materials list we'll talk about in the after party, or if you're a citizen or above and a resident or above, you'll have access to all the long form content of how I make these. We'll be putting those videos together in the next couple days, and we'll have them posted for you later on this month. But let me show you here. So what I did was actually, do you want your drink? I'm drinking mine and I'm feeling bad because you're not joining me. Although I don't need to force you to drink for me to be able to enjoy this drink. Cheers. Cheers. Will o' the whisk. If anybody wants the recipe, it's sort of a whiskey sour with a twist. I'll put the recipe down. It's orange juice, lemon juice, whiskey, and a little bit of other stuff. But it's very tasty. Magic. Okay, I'm gonna put on my not very magical, but oh so practical apron.
Remember you just.
I was supposed to take off my microphone before I did that. But we talked about this earlier. There will be many mistakes. Okay, that's part of the charm.
Mm-hmm.
We're just going to say that's part of the charm.
And then
we put the mic back on top of the apron.
that.
Look at me. And because you're working with glue,
Lights
I
on.
have ruined, I don't know, because of my ADHD and or I don't want to say it's ADHD, but I am distractible. I know there are plenty of people with ADHD who manage their distractions very, learn to manage them. I have not ever learned to manage my distractibility. So I have ruined so many clothing items by getting paint and glue on my clothes and not washing it off. Wow, that is really
Hold on.
bleached out. I'm holding on. I'm holding.
I did change it.
I'm just gonna keep talking.
Doing weirdness before, so
that's okay.
I'll exposure back.
This will happen.
Live show.
Okay, we're back. I recommend investing in something to wear as an apron. Like, you remember in kindergarten, they would put you in your dad's old raggedy shirts. They say, send your child to school with an old shirt. And at least when I was a kid, that's what it was. And the teacher would go around and button them in the back, and we'd have on big old dad shirts on backwards. Those are great, but they don't fit me anymore. We're the same size, so it's not like it's giving me an overprotection. Only thing is, put on an apron and you will protect your clothes, because we're going to work with glue.
Yay, glue.
Glue.
What's it taste like?
Please don't eat glue.
Aww.
My uncle ate glue. If my cousins are listening, I'm sorry, I'm going to talk shit about your dad. My mom and her brother did not get along, and this didn't go one way. It went both ways. So, but she was always like, "Your uncle used to eat paste," so I refused to eat paste, even though I wanted to as a child, because it smelled minty. But there's nothing about glue that makes me want to eat it. It doesn't even smell like mint. Taste like mint. It doesn't taste like mint. How would I know? I don't know. It doesn't even smell like mint, so why would I taste it? I'm taking 2 balloons of the same size. This is actually important because of the fact that these end up shrinking a little as they dry. And depending on what glue you're using, there will be more or less shrinkage. And we don't want it to pop before it's dry. I did have that happen a few times. But one thing you can do is don't try to blow up both balloons. Just blow up the center one, and then you can tie that off, and then tie off. I'll show you. Blowing up the inside balloon. And before I finish, I'm going to press on the one side, because when you know how when you blow up a balloon, it kind of has that egg shape that forms? Something I learned by watching tutorials from people who do balloon arches and things is you can actually change and affect the shape of the balloon and make it more round by applying pressure to the back end of the balloon while you're inflating it. So we're going to do that. I'll use my hand and maybe the table.
Make me a puppy dog.
I got a round balloon.
Oh, okay. I got it.
Don't press so hard that you can't blow it up.
Aww. The green M&M.
Okay, I could blow this up more, but that would... I have pots. So I'm not going to blow it up. But you can see how it's a fairly round balloon now, as opposed to being egg-shaped. And now I'm going to tie the 2 knots separately. There was a time in my life I could tie them both together, but now that's just too much for my fingers to manage. So once you get your balloon the size you want it, obviously these are very different sizes. Start with smaller as you're practicing. You know, these look cute as orbs as well. And then you can go larger and larger until you find out the size that you really like. But start small and then learn from that, so you're not wasting a lot of material. But then what I do is I put the little tied spot down into a flower pot or container that you don't mind ruining. If you don't want to ruin it, you like it, maybe put a plastic bag on it and just contain it that way. But I've used this now to make like 6 or 7 of these, and I never cleaned it off until after it was dry, and so it's a mess, but that's okay. Then what I'm going to do, I'm going to take, first I take a few pieces of tape and I tape it down to the container. And this would be good enough, I thought. Just taping it down so it doesn't fall off. But then I realized that as I'm putting on the paper mache, the glue drips slowly down. Gravity happens. And it just starts happening.
Years, you know?
And then, yeah, right. And then this little container fills up with glue. So I put, first of all, at least 3, 4 is good, pieces of tape from the balloon down to the container, and really tuck it under the balloon's edge and then tuck it under, because you want this shape that's right up to the edge to be where you stop, and then you'll have a nice clean edge at the bottom. Then, and I would suggest not using colored painter's tape, because I did that, and when I went to remove the balloon from the paper mache, it left these black stripes. I don't know which one. I might be able to find it. It covered mostly with the paint, but if you have color on your tape, it could stick to your paper mache. And then the next thing I did was to take some long strips of tape. I'm just using regular masking tape and it works just fine. And the paper mache does not stick to the rubber, which is great. It comes right off. Even if you pop it and it looks like it's stuck inside, it does come off. You can just rub it and peel it off.
Yikes.
But to I don't even know what that meant.
You can just rub it off.
Yeah, oh, okay. I get it now. I don't know why I always make these disgusted faces every time you make sexual jokes. I get so uncomfortable that you make sexy jokes on camera. I'm like, ew, gross.
Who would do that?
Ew, who would?
No.
So anyway, what we're going to do is try to make a blockade from the balloon so that the glue doesn't go down into the little container that you've chosen, and just kind of lay it flat along the balloon. Tuck it under a little bit, and then it's okay if it hangs off the edge. So this is, I haven't tried it with a terracotta flower pot. I don't think it would work very well because the flower pot is porous, and I don't know that the tape would stick to it. And in earlier presentations, I think, or like some of the text I've written down about the technique, I wrote down flower pot, and I think I'm going to have to adjust that because it needs to be something that tape will stick to. A large cup, a measuring cup or something like that, but whatever.
Young child's
You want it to be big enough, the cup of a young child's dreams, not sturdy enough, too changeable. You want it to be large enough that you will have some control over it, that it's not going to have a tippy base. And this one is actually the one I've used for all of these. So at least up to this size, which is, I don't know, like a 12-inch ball, it works for that. So just make sure it's not a small base that's going to tip. Then you're going to have yourself some coffee filters. The cheapest ones you can get at any discount store, whatever the discount store is in your town, get them there if you need to. Otherwise, they sell these at almost every single grocery store, and they're just the round ones. So I have those. I have a little container to put my glue and water in. And what we're going to do is just mix up water and glue. What I have learned over this process is that I can never quite gauge how much glue and water I'm going to need. So I started mixing it in I was mixing it in this container, which is easy to apply to the balloon, but I have switched to a jar so that if I don't need it all, I can close it up and save it for later. It's amazing. Okay, so there are 2 different kinds of glue that I have here, both of which I got at the hardware store, not the craft store. I don't know about you, I'm looking for a discount. I love a discount. This is cheaper than the Elmer's was, and this is amazing. So I tried out different versions of wood glue and all-purpose glue, And the wood glue is definitely more expensive than all-purpose PVA glue. But it does make a more rigid structure. So this one, the larger orb that I made here, I did with just wood glue. I don't know about the cost ratio, which is better, like an extra layer of coffee filters and then just use white glue, but that worked fine for me as well. But I just don't know which one is better cost wise. But what I started out with was about equal amounts of glue and water. So, and I'll tell you guys a little story. Story time. I love glue. I don't know why. There's no rational reason to love glue. Poor animals have sacrificed their lives to make this disgusting stuff. And I love it. It's the best craft material out there. When I was a kid, I loved Elmer's glue so much. I think I must have been like 6 years old, Ryan. Have I told you this story? Yeah. And I'm just going to mix this slowly or fast. So I was using Elmer's. This would be elementary school. I think I was in third grade. And my parents saw that I was using so much Elmer's glue. They bought me one of those little beanie hats that has the bauble on the top, and it just said all the way around it, Elmer's glue, Elmer's glue. And I cried when they gave it to me because I thought they were making fun of me. and I would not wear it. Ran to my room and cried. The story goes, I cried for like an hour or more about the fact that they gave me this sweet little hat that said Elmer's glue on it. And then many years later, my father passed away and we were going through all his things and I found the Elmer's glue hat. He saved it. And even though I hated it, so now it's packed away in a box, but I treasure it. I'm glad he saved it. It was so sweet. And I do still love glue because you can use it for so many things. That's goofy. I don't know. I had not planned to tell that story, but that happened. So there's a couple ways you can do the glue and water situation. I'm just going to pour it all in there, and then if I have leftovers, I'll put it back in the jar. Where are we at on our time? Ooh, the timer went dark, so I can't even tell how much time is left. We're already like halfway through.
Yeah.
Holy crap. Okay, so let's get this done. Some glooves.
Some glue-obs.
Glooves.
2x2-obs. Hands of glue-obs.
Oh, I miss that show. Not Mother. Sorry. Old lady reference. Okay. Then what I did was so these are just the containers. I'm saving all of these lately. That pasta, like fresh pasta and things come in. Things that you get your groceries in. Save these little containers. They're amazing. I started out by cutting these up into 4 pieces or tearing them. But I realized that although I thought that would make a big difference because of the overlapping and how it looked when the light reflected through it, you don't have to use all just torn up pieces. You can just use some whole ones and some torn up ones and just sort of alternate. That's the word I'm looking for. Alternate back and forth. So I dip it in there. I sort of squeegee out some of it. The more you squeegee out, the less like you're going to have this giant pool around your balloon when you're done. But just put it on and smooth it out. And then put it on and smooth it out. And then I just start overlapping. So when I say 2 layers, now that I'm looking at this, I'm guessing it was probably more approximately 2 layers. It could have been more. Because what you want to do is just completely cover the whole thing. Then you're going to let it dry, which for me in California, in a very arid state, and even though it's winter, we are not getting much rain and it's dry here. So it took about a day and a half with our little fan on for this to dry. And then I went back over and did another layer, and then maybe even more layers. Just after it dries each time and you go to make another layer on it, you'll see how firm it is. You know, if you can press in and it's really denting into, when it's dry and it's really denting into the balloon, you know, consider putting on another layer or two. I wouldn't go more than 5 layers. I think it would end up being too thick for the light to really shine through. So, but anyway, this is kind of how I did it. Just dunking them in. Just make sure you get glue on all parts of the coffee filter, because as you can see here, so if this is dripping too much and you find that the glue is not staying on the coffee filters, just add a little more glue to your water. It could just be that your ratio is not quite thick enough. So that's why I didn't give you measurements. It's about half and half, but depending on the brand of glue you get, if it's dripping too much, just add a little more glue, make it thicker. So that is how that happens. And then my table, this is how I found out this table slants, because I put it here and I walked out of the room, and then this pool, which had formed here, was great. And then I came back in an hour later, and there's a puddle of glue on my really inexpensive, cheap, renter-friendly floor, which I had to then scrape up. It came up because I just put a towel on it, but
just kidding, Bethany, that didn't happen.
No, it's totally fine. But if you have carpet in your craft room, put something underneath that will absorb the drips. That is my tip for as it's drying and dripping. But so it's a very simple process. When you're making, I thought paper mache was going to be really difficult to do this, because when I've made paper mache in the past, like the flour and water, and I've done paper mache clay and all of that, and it can be time consuming and take a really long time. Coffee filters and glue and water, boom, fast, down, dirty, get the job done. I'm very happy about that. So let me clean up here just a little bit, because I don't want to stay around this whole glue situation. Here, wait.
Gloopy glue?
No, just put it in here and set it to the side.
Oh,
I'm a gloopy gloober. You're a gloopy gloober. We're all gloopy gloobers. Yeah. Oh my God. I have actually had a whole cocktail before you guys got here. So sorry, but I'm just gonna clean this off a little bit. Sorry, not sorry. I'm a little more awake this time though, because I had tea in the early afternoon. So it's like Red Bull and vodka. I was like, do not recommend if you're never mind. Don't recommend. It's not something I'm trying to convince you guys to do. But yeah, I am hyper and loopy.
Let me say some shout outs, people.
Who do we have tonight?
We got songs from Shootcase. We got Jay
Aww.
Johnson. We got Monk and
Hey,
Marple.
songs. Oh, hey.
And special shout out to
And
Elsa,
Jay.
who's watching you and transfixed by you, kitty Elsa. So,
oh,
Mika, the cat
Elsa, little kitty. I gave Elsa the kitty a surprise ball made with cat treats inside. I don't know, maybe Monk and Marple, could you tell me if that ever worked out for your cat? Did she like it, or was it like a total bust? Because in my mind, I don't have cats. In my mind, I was like, this is the best thing for cats ever. They're going to want to get to the catnip inside, and it'll be so much fun. But I don't know if it was. So, because I gave one to Monk and Marple for her kitties.
So you too could win something if you become part of our citizens.
So we have 3 membership tiers right now. There is tourist, citizen, no, tourist, resident, and citizen. I forget the names. But what was the point of that?
Citizens go into a drawing every month to win something that you
I
made.
wrote it down. Tourists get live shows and most of the posts in the chat. And then residents get all the materials lists, like the actual name of the things that I use, links, and longer form content. And then if you're a citizen, you get to come to the VIP pre-parties, after parties. You get to be in the raffle at the end of every live show where I give away something, and you'll be there for special polls. Like if I'm going to be selling stuff, you'll be able to buy, custom order and stuff like that.
Meanwhile, back at the ranch.
So let me show you all the failures, because there were a lot. I made so many mistakes, but mistakes, we're just going to go the Bob Ross route, which I really internalized as a child. They're not mistakes, they're happy accidents. And I do believe that. Because I did come up, can I give you this? Because I don't know where to put it.
Give it to me, baby.
Oh my gosh. You're even more hyper than me.
No,
Ryan is an extrovert. Ryan is an extrovert and just gets there on his own, which is lovely. So let me just pull up this box. This was the very first one I made. Don't laugh.
Sorry.
I was repulsed when I made this. I was like, what the? So this is the same kind of a situation as here. But I did, I think, 7 or 8 layers. And it is way too thick. You can barely see the light coming through it.
Because of thick boys.
And not just because the lights are not quite right to show that. But,
off.
oh, okay.
Lights off.
Lights off. We'll just put the rest of these up here. Yeah, we'll display the rotation of failures on a light ball rotation. So, and then I realized it was not the right shape because I hadn't gone down far enough on the balloon, and it looked like half a ball. And then I was like, it needs something stable underneath it for it to support, because it was still sort of wobbly. So I put this clay thing on the bottom, and I was like, ew, I'm embarrassed that I made that. I was just like, what? Try again. So then I decided I would try UV. No. Then I decided I was going to try the rice wrappers, rice paper wrappers. Do I even have them? Do you know those things that you make rice wrappers, like fruit, veggie rolls? What do you call them? Spring rolls. You just dip them in water. They get flexible, and you roll up your lettuce and vegetables and mango or whatever you like in there. Well, I was like, those things would be really fun, and they were. But so this is the last one I tried, and I was like, I'm not going to make any more of these, because this was an absolute. This made me so excited that it might work, and then was such a failure. I was so sad. So I tried making them. Here's the first one I made. All right. Don't laugh all you want. So that was the first one I made. This is the first one I made out of rice wrappers. And then I wanted it to be super glossy on top, because in Willow, in the stage performance where Taylor Swift has the orbs in Willow on the tour. Yeah, the Eras Tour. Oh, you were saying Eras. I thought you said Harris. I'm like, what about Vice President Harris? I misplayed President Harris. Okay, sorry. This is not a political show. We're distracting ourselves. But then I tried to cover it with UV resin. And the UV resin, no matter what I did, I have the UV light and all of that, and it would not cure on the inside. It just kept being sticky in places. So I put it outside, and the sun did this to it. And then I actually put on a couple little loops after the fact, because I thought maybe it can hang from some string or something in the backyard. What?
Is that pendulous thing hanging?
Chiquita, they were hanging.
Yeah.
You can't tell me I saw them. They were hanging. And they were abstract art. a reference to something else. I could talk about it in the after party. So that was a fail. So then I thought, well, does all of the UV resin start to deform? So then I made myself just a giant UV resin ball on a balloon. That took forever because I was trying to make, I don't want to use plastics as much as possible. That's why I really like using paper and white glue. They're biodegradable things. But I was like, well, I really want that glossy look. And people had been saying that they had seen these orbs recreated with like hamster balls, which are a preformed rigid ball. And I thought, oh, that'll be nice. You know, I still want to, maybe I can do this and then fill it with something inside. That did not work. There's another one. So this was the next one where I made a little globe and then I filled it with stuff. The paper didn't work, so I tore the paper out and then I just coated it with colored glue. That also just looks, it doesn't look right. I mean, it's not bad, but
it looks like you've got some fine Italian dining going.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I need a checkerboard tablecloth.
Big old drip candles. You got it.
Oh, nice. All of these are definitely flammable, so we don't want real flames involved. But anyway, that I thought was ugly. It couldn't get the nice, it just didn't look right. So then I tried a bigger ball. I thought I'll just do more layers, and it was looking so good. I was so excited about this one. This is the rice wrapper. I'm not done with this technique. It doesn't work for this particular, or I haven't figured out how to make it work for this particular application, but it has potential for, it looks like rawhide, the rawhide lamps that you would see, or the mica kind of things you would see in the 1920s. So in where we live in South Pasadena, there's a really large arts and crafts style aesthetic. And so you get a lot of these old light fixtures that use flakes of colored mica, which is a volcanic material that shears off into these beautiful sheets. Or they would use, what did I just say a second ago? That other word, the animal skin, rawhide, and used those as stretched leather for lanterns. And it kind of looks like that, but the thing is, man, this stuff is so brittle once it dries. And if it is not 100% dry, when you take it off the balloon, this is what happens. And then if it hits the ground, I didn't break it just now because it was already broken, but I'm just making a point. So these, no, I don't break your heart. It breaks really easily. I've been wanting to do that all week. Like, I'll save it for the show. But yeah, so this is like 5 layers of this stuff, and it's really fun, but I'm gonna have to figure out something else to do with that, because it does not work for this application. And then we finally settled on, actually I wanted to break the other one. Here it is. Oh, there we go. I'm talking about shrinkage. It's cold. That's not even cold. Anyway, so here I can show you how it peels off. Actually, I don't know if I can, but it does the same thing to the paper mache. So it just peels right off. And one of the nice things about rubber balloons is that they're natural biodegradable rubber. So they are also biodegradable, which is great. Okay, so what was the point of doing all that? Besides the fact that I just really wanted to break all of those. So what we ended up with was the coffee filters and the paper mache.
How'd you get all the cute colors and you got like
Thank
some
you.
dark and some light?
So then to color it, I decided it needed to be translucent pigment, and I tried watercolor, and this one has watercolor on it. And again, it was just, I don't know if it was because of the thickness of the paper, but it just didn't look right. I couldn't get it to look the way I wanted it to. So I ended up using food coloring. I know this is really strange, but so I used to have a a sugar cube business, and I had lots of food coloring left over. I still use, these are the newer ones I had. I've purchased these because these are so old, but if you're gonna buy food coloring, the gel food coloring that you'd get at, I don't know, Joann's, Michael's, any craft store that carries cake decorating supplies. These are by Wilton. These are by Chef Master. Some water-based food colorings. Those things are amazing. I just put a bunch into a, you know, like a little, get yourself a little watercolor palette. Put some of your food coloring in there. Oh, I don't have it. So what I ended up doing was taking paper towels. There's a few different ways I tried making these. One was with, or painting them. One was with paintbrushes, and that was okay. But here's the one I did with paintbrushes only. And you can see there are some really distinct lines that run through it. I'll turn it around and you can see. And I don't think that's a bad thing. But when the lights are on and this little glowy light is off, you can see them and it's a little too, I don't know, on the nose. Like, it doesn't look magical. It just looks like painted swirls. If you're a better painter than I am, you could probably get some nice shading effects. But I found the easiest way to get shading effects was to use a paper towel. And I ended up using, or a rag, some sort of a rag that you can wash off. Scraps from, I don't know, old t-shirts or something like that. Because as you're putting the coloring on, the paper towel will shred a little bit. I used industrial, like the kind of paper towels that you use in like a shop. They're also from the handyman store. The handyman store, not the craft store. The thicker paper towels that are more durable. So it doesn't sort of shred. If you don't want to deal with that, you can use the rags, but just dipping a little bit of, getting the rag or paper towel wet, dipping it in a little bit of whatever color it is you want. I started with yellow. The exact colors that I will tell you in the after party. I almost just said it now, but you can just experiment because, spoilers, you can use any colors you want. If you want a mermaid theme, use blues and purples and greens. This is 3 colors, a yellow and orange and a magenta kind of a color. And the magenta ended up being more brown and rusty colored. Started with yellow, put it all over the whole thing, thicker and thinner in some spots. Then I added some orange, and then I just started adding more of the magenta and stuff. Once it was mostly dry, I went back and put a little bit of the dark color on a almost completely dry paper towel and just rubbed it extra so that it would get on the high, like dry brushing. It sort of made some darker colors on the, you can see it looks like lines going through it. But I'm so happy with this. The only thing I was unhappy with was, what time do we have here? The only time I was unhappy with this, the thing I was most unhappy with was just this lack of a base. Because when the people on, you know, on the stage show are using them, they're holding them and it's this beautiful, you know, performance. But for myself, I'm not going to be walking around with this very much. It's just going to be sitting on a table. Or if I reimagine these for my backyard, I might have them hanging upside down. But just this plain empty bottom just didn't look majestic enough. So I went ahead and made a couple nests for the bottom, which sort of reminded me of the willow aesthetic. So this is, can we turn the lights back on?
Yeah, lights on.
Lights on.
That
drink
is strong, babe.
1 tablespoon lemon juice, 1 tablespoon orange juice, 1.5 ounces, which is 3 to 1, 1.5 ounces of whiskey and rye, and then some other stuff. I put a little bit of grapefruit liqueur, which is mostly sugar, and maple syrup. So it's like a maple Manhattan. Oh, I wasn't going to tell you it was maple. Ryan hates maple.
I almost said something when I first drank it, but I was like...
I can taste it now that I said it. It's not very, but you can use any other kind of sweetener. You could use agave or honey if you don't like maple syrup because you're weird. But anyway, so this one, once I made these little nests. So I'll show you how I made these nests. This is my favorite nest. This was the first nest I made, and it's just moss from a nursery, like a plant nursery or a craft store. They always have it. And then, Ryan, you remember we went and I made you stop on the side of the road for like a couple hours so I could pick this lichen off the trees in Northern California because I thought it was usnea. And I wanted to like harvest some wild usnea as medicinal. That's a whole other thing. But I had all this lichen. That's the beautiful stuff. What?
Jay says that he has to fight me because the Canadianness versus my anti-maple syrupness.
Oh my God. Fight. I love maple syrup. Where's my drink? I poured them and then I got rid of the jar, the container that had it. Oh, I got way too happy when you showed me that glass. Okay, so making the nests. This first one, I took it off, I made it, and I didn't dry enough. So it sort of turned into this weird flat pancake. But it's just lichen and moss. I mixed it with the exact same water and glue mixture, put it in a Ziploc bag or a grocery bag or a trash bag, something that you can just really mix it all up in till all of the dry matter is coated in some glue. Then take a form. I used a bowl, line it with some plastic wrap or again, some more recycled stuff you're going to put in the recycle bin or trash anyway. Cereal containers, the little liner. I love those things. They're great. Very good to use in crafting. Yeah, the little bag. Thank you. That cereal comes in. Those are great for like rolling out pie rounds and other things, but they're also really good to line things. Anyway, so line a bowl that is the size you want it with plastic of some kind. Put your material in there, sort of shape it, and then whatever size your ball is, find something. I used another bowl and sort of press it down into that. I lined that with plastic as well. Put it in the sun and let it dry out a bit. This one was not dry enough when I took it out, and so it just sort of died. But I can revive this by putting it in more water and letting it get all soft again, and I can reuse this. I'm not worried about that. If I just let it soak in the water long enough, it'll get pliable again. I'll probably add more glue, but I can fix that. This one, I ran out of moss and lichen, so I just went out into the yard and I found a bunch of pine needles and I cut them up with scissors and I mixed it all up together and put it in there. I love this. I will be using these.
It is super cute, babe.
I'll be using these for Easter. So I'll be making more of these. And I think if you guys, you know, want to see how I made it, I'll show you.
Yeah, put it up.
Put it up.
Video or it didn't happen.
It happened. Because here it is. Yeah, they're just really cute little nests and I really like it. And nice little side, you know, display thing. And then you can use this for all kinds of other things if, you know, you get rid of the orb later. But these are the nests. It's just glue and water mixed with whatever kind of materials, nature materials. You could use leaves, twigs. I would use small thin twigs and break them up before you put them in. But you can make yourself a little basket as a tray. The other thing I would suggest if you're going to do this to put your orb on, this one was not finished this way, but I used a varnish on the outside of the other one. that, oh, it might not be as easy to dissolve in water as I thought, because I did put a spray varnish on it, but I think I'm going to try anyway. But this one doesn't have any of that on it. But go ahead and spray it with a varnish. UV protectant is great. That is what went on the outside of these. So I can put them outside so that even though it is food coloring, the UV protection will keep the color of the food dye from fading. I have things that I made with, like sugar sculptures that I made with food coloring years ago. And yes, the color fades, but it's still the color it was. I mean, it's purple is still purple, yellow is still yellow. So even though these may fade if you use food coloring, they will still stay generally the same color. If you don't want to use food coloring for those, I would suggest watercolor paint. And I did get some results. I didn't make full orbs to show you, but I did get some results by putting the watercolor into the water and glue situation and then using that. So there's a little bit of, it's more translucent. But you could use watercolors as well. I do not recommend acrylic paints. Acrylic paints are really opaque. Opaque? No. Opaque is the word I've been using. They're really thick and really hard to see through. So they
C's thick?
Thick like Alan? No, he's only too thick. Alan thick.
Oh, God.
Oh, throwback. Hey, Alan thick. He's the dad of the guy that did the lines. Robin Thicke. What was the white line? Blurred Lines. Love that song. I hate the guy. I don't hate the guy, but he's smarmy. He comes off as smarmy. I don't know the guy. I don't know. I like that song, but he's slimy. Alan Thicke. Thicke. Wow. That was I just went off on that tangent. And now I have to come back. What else? Are there any questions while I have you here in this?
7 mins left.
We have 7 mins left.
What was your takeaway? I mean, I love the idea of flipping them upside down.
Oh, that was the other thing. I do want to, so ever since we went to the Aulani in Hawaii, it's just, if you get a chance to go to the Aulani, freaking amazing. But they have these beautiful displays as you're walking through the property. And if you go to Disneyland in Los Angeles, in the Adventureland, not Adventureland, is it Adventureland? The one with the backside of water and, yeah. Okay, so Adventureland, they have these beautiful displays where they have these lanterns hanging, and I've been wanting to recreate something like that for a while. And as soon as I was making these, I was like, oh, these will work for that. These will totally work for that. So what I'm going to be doing, and I can show you later, once I figure out how to do it exactly, I'm going to be drilling some small holes through this and putting some string through and then making a hanging device. And then I think we'll be able to put these inside and have them for outdoor use. If they're going to live outside, I'd have to put a little hole in this so that when it does rain, it comes out. And make sure if you're going to use something like paper mache, you completely coat not only the outside in a spray protector, but also the inside, like varnish or shellac, or I don't know if shellac is real. Shellac is not waterproof, but some sort of a waterproof protectant like you would use on outdoor furniture. Spray the inside and the outside, and I would test it before you put it out. Put a little water in it, swirl it around, dump it out, and see if there's any wet spots. If there are, let it dry, and then go back and finish spraying it again. But, once it's waterproof, this will go outside as well. And I'm interested to see how long the UV protection protects this color.
Especially
and how it weathers.
California sun.
It's hot here. Harsh. It is harsh sun. But if you have a place, I would think at the least you could just take it out when you have guests, or you want to sit out there and then put it away when you're not using it, and it'll last a long time. Really happy to have tried making these because I really like them. And I will be making some hanging lanterns for my backyard because now that I have these, I know I can do it. And
What's coming up next month?
next month, I want to do Easter stuff. March.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to do, these little nests will probably feature just as a reuse, but I want to make a bunch, pardon me, I want to make a bunch
It's okay
of,
if you watched any of the videos
excuse me,
Julia Child, she burps on nationwide TV.
She did. We did a react video to one of Julia Child's videos, to a lot of them, and she burped. Ha ha, that was funny. She's human, which is what we like about her. Maybe that's what you like about me, because I'm a human. As far as you know.
Since when?
I'm on the other side of a camera. I could be AI, really advanced AI. Can you imagine if this is what they came up with advanced AI? Ryan's laughing way too hard. Stop it. Don't laugh that hard. Yeah, I'm not AI.
That's just what AI would say.
That's just what AI would say. So yeah, she burps. I don't remember what we're talking about. Oh, so next month, the other thing I'm going to do is I want to make, if you've been with me for a while, you know I do a lot of stuff with crepe paper. I made the surprise balls when we first started last year. I've done a number of things with that. I make the crepe paper flowers, and oh, there's one more ball that didn't work. I want to show off my artwork that's in process. This is not anything that any of you asked for. This is just my own little private fun thing. So I'm making these crepe paper sculptures, and I was like, ooh, this one didn't work. And so I used paper towels to make this one. It's very not see-through. But yeah, so, but I want to do more things with crepe paper, and I'm going to make a bunch of little teeny tiny surprise balls for Easter eggs. So usually my child, for years, we have purchased those. I think they're all or almost all made in Mexico. They take the egg shell, a real egg, and I'm hoping it's a byproduct of the egg, like in a container industry. I don't know. But they're empty eggshells, and they're dyed pretty colors, and they put paper confetti inside and cover it up with a little bit of tissue paper, and then we smash them on each other's heads. We've been doing it since our child was like 4. I love them probably more than my child ever did. Like every year after Easter, they are covering our front yard with glitter, and it just dissolves. But this year, I think I want to try to do some not plastic Easter eggs. So making little surprise balls. The older my child has gotten, and the more serious our situation with climate change and all that has gotten, we still want to celebrate. We still want to have beautiful, fun crafts, and I'm trying to double down on the biodegradable side of that. So instead of buying plastic Easter eggs, just making some little plastic surprise balls, and we can hide them all over the place. Awesome.
Question from the chat.
Yes.
Would crepe paper work for this?
I wanted to say yes. However, no. When crepe paper is so thick, you could try it. Try anything you want. I don't think it would work, because even the very sturdy coffee filters will stop timer. Even the very sturdy coffee filters will rip if you dip them in the glue and wait too long before you like squeegee off the excess. You may have seen even the ones that I did, some of it tore off. You want to be kind of careful with it once it gets wet. Tissue paper, once you get it wet, will fall apart. Save tissue paper for other crafts. The color of tissue paper might be nice. If you're going to use tissue paper as a coloring agent, I would say make a full layer of your coffee filters. Then, while it's still damp, take your torn pieces of crepe paper and lay them on top, but don't dip them in the liquid. Just lay them on top of the damp. Maybe take a little extra glue and water on your hand and lay it down on top, and then put another layer of, or not, but use that as either the last layer or as a sandwiched layer to add color. Crepe paper can be fairly expensive as well. And what's nice, I used the white coffee filters on this, but I think for the oranges and things, the unbleached kind would be just fine. You'd get a little more richness to the color probably. But yeah, you could try it, but I wouldn't use it as the structural base of these. They would fall apart really easily. Yeah. This particular one, I sprayed on the inside as well, but I didn't let it dry enough before I brought it in the house because that was a last minute thing.
It's been a little snacky in here.
Smells a little bit like the stuff I sprayed on it. It's not bad though. It's not bad.
We're going to have some paint in the post party, so come hang out with us.
I want to make these really large, and I want to make some sort of Mars attacks thing, and I might want to make some hats, and I want to make this really, really, really big on like a, what do you call it? One of those exercise balls.
Oh my gosh.
And I want it to be big enough. I'm not going to cover it with
Crazy big hippity hop.
one of those big hippie hops, but exercise balls. So that it's big enough to cut a hole open and put it on my head. And then I want to put...
Like a dead mouse?
I want to put, like a dead mouse head. And then I want to put LED lights on it that I can control with a switch so I can do color therapy like that. I've been imagining doing one of these for years and years and years. They had the Exploratorium in San Francisco. They have this thing where you can sit inside this round plastic dome with lights, colored lights. I want to recreate something like that. I can show you what I make if I make it. I don't know if that would be worthy of doing as an actual craft for Land of Make Believe, but I'll be making one for myself at the very least. You'll have to live with it when it arrives in the home.
Citizens, check your emails. We got links out for the after party.
We have links out. We will be...
careful with your microphone.
My microphone. We're going to have the after party. We'll talk about all the actual names of materials, the glues, the paints. Oh, you already know about the secret sauce of
Residents will know because you'll have all the links to everything as well.
Thank you guys for showing up. I'm so thankful you were here. I'm so glad you were here. I hope you got something good out of it. Tell your friends, ask them to join.
Tell your enemies.
Tell your enemies when they don't get it. And we'll